James Princip, a British antiquary and colonial administrator, was the first person to decipher Ashoka's edicts. These Ashoka's inscriptions are the first tangible evidence of Buddhism. They were kept in public places and along trade routes so that the maximum number of people would read them. More than religious discourses, they talk about the moral duties of the people, how to conduct life, Ashoka's desire to be a good and benevolent ruler, and Ashoka's work towards this end. There are 33 inscriptions in total and primarily classified as major rock edicts, minor rock edicts, separate rock edicts, major pillar edicts, minor pillar edicts. In the earlier half of his reign, the edicts were inscribed on conveniently located rock surfaces and were distributed in the areas of public settlement where people could easily read them and are referred to as major and minor rock edicts. In the later part of his reign, the inscriptions were on well-polished monolithic pillars from the sites of Chunar near Varanasi. Each edict surmounted with a finely sculpted animal capital involving great technological expertise in cutting and engraving and were mainly confined to the Ganges plain. The inscriptions were composed in the Prakrit language in Magadhi, the dialect of Prakrit in Magad, and written in Brahmini script throughout the greater part of the empire. But in the northwestern part, they appear in Kharoshthi script, and in Kandahar in Afghanistan, they were written in Aramaic, in Greek script and Greek language. Most of the inscriptions are about Dhamma. Ashoka's Dhamma emphasized non-violence, mutual respect and understanding between people of different sects and beliefs. There are 14 major rock edicts. Major Rock Edict 1 tells us about Ashoka's policy on prohibition of animal sacrifice, especially during festive season. Major Rock Edict 2 tells us about medical treatment of humans and animals, planting of fruits, medicinal herbs and the digging of wells. Mentions of Pandyas, Satyapuras and Keralputras of South India. Major Rock Edict 3 tells us about generosity to Brahmins, about Yuktas, Pradeshiks and Rajuks who would go every 5 years to different parts of his empire to spread Dhamma. Major Rock Edict 4 tells us about Dhamma Ghosh over Bheri Ghosh, that is, sound of Dharma or righteousness over the sound of war. King Ashoka attached greatest value to his duty. Major Rock Edict 5 tells us about Dhamma Mahamatras, talks about treating slaves rightly. A special cadre of officials, Dhamma Ghosh, were appointed and entrusted with the duty of spreading Dhamma within the kingdom. Major Rock Edict 6 tells king's desire to know about his people's conditions, about welfare measures. Major Rock Edict 7, tolerance towards religions among all sects and welfare measures for the public in his as well as his neighboring kingdoms. Major Rock Edict 8 tells us about Ashoka's first visit to Bodh Gaya and the Bodhi tree. His first Dhamma Yatra gave importance to Dhamma tours. Major Rock Edict 9 condemns popular ceremonies, stresses on moral conduct. Major Rock Edict 10 disapproves of the individual's desire for fame and glory and stresses on Dhamma. Major Rock Edict 11 Dhamma is the best policy to follow, which includes respect for elders and concern for slaves and servants. Major Rock Edict 12, it mentions Mahamatas in charge for women's welfare, Ithijika Mahamat and tolerance towards Dhamma of others. Major Rock Edict 13 mentions victory over Kalinga, mentions Ashoka's Dhamma victory over Greek kings Antiochus of Syria, Ptolemy of Egypt, Magas of Cyrene, Antigonus of Macedon, Alexander of Epirus, and also mentions Pandyas, Cholas, etc. The 13th Rock Edict, which was issued at the end of the Kalinga War, gives a vivid picture of the change of Ashoka from an aggressive and violent warrior to a great lover and preacher of peace. The direct and immediate effect of the Kalinga War was the conversion of Ashoka to Buddhism. Major Rock Edict 14 tells us about the purpose of rock edicts. Minor rock edicts. Minor rock edicts are found on 15 rocks across the country and in Afghanistan also. Ashoka uses his name only in 4 of these places, namely Maski, Brahmagiri in Karnataka, Gujar in MP, and Nettur in Andhra Pradesh. Pillar edicts. There are 7 pillar edicts. 2 types of stones are used: spotted white sandstone from Mathura and buff colored sandstone and quartzites from Amravati. Generally, they are made of sandstone from Chunar. They have almost similar form and dimensions. All the pillars are monoliths and the surface is well polished. They have been found from different places like Kandahar in Afghanistan, Khyber in Pakistan, Delhi, Vaishali and Champaran in Bihar, Sarnath and Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh, Amravati in Andhra Pradesh and Sanchi in Madhya Pradesh. Fragments of the same edicts are found in different places. Many pillars are as high as 50 feet and weigh as much as 50 tons. They are devoid of bases and the cylindrical shaft tapers slightly upwards to a height of 12 to 14 meters. There is a platform or abacus on the top of the bell capital which supports the crowned animal. The pillars depict animals such as elephants and lions and wheels and lotuses, which are all significant symbols of Buddhism. The majestic pillar edicts have been found at Topra, Rampurva, Nigali, Sagar, Lauria, Araras, Lauria Nandangad, Sarnath and Meerut. Firoz Shah Tughlaq shifted pillars, one from Topra and the other from Meerut to Delhi. The details of Ashoka's pillar edict are: Pillar Edict 1 tells us about Ashoka's principle of protecting his people. Pillar Edict 2 defines Dhamma as minimum of sins, many virtues, compassion, liberty, truthfulness and purity. Pillar Edict 3 tells us about avoiding practices of cruelty, sin, harshness, pride and anger among his subjects. Pillar Edict 4 tells us about the responsibilities of the Rajuks. Pillar Edict 5 tells us the list of animals and birds that should not be killed on certain days. Another list mentions animals that should never be killed, describes release of 25 prisoners. This pillar edict is also known as Delhi Topra Pillar Edict. Pillar Edict 6 tells us about the Dhamma policy of the state. Pillar Edict 7 tells us Ashoka's work for fulfilling Dhamma, tolerance for all sects, also about Dhamma Mahamatras. Other relevant inscriptions and important edicts are Allahabad Kosam, also known as Queen Edict or Koshambi Edict. In this edict, Ashoka asked the members of the Sangh to refrain from causing division in the ranks. Samudragupta's inscription is on this edict itself and Jahangir shifted it to the fort of Allahabad. Kandahar inscription. It is a famous bilingual edict in Greek and Aramaic. Kaling edicts found in Bauli and Jaugarh mentions all men are my children. Sannati inscription from Karnataka tells us about the site of all 14 major rock edicts as well as 2 separate Kaling edicts. Rumindai inscription from Nepal mentions that the village of Lumbini was the birthplace of Buddha, should be exempted from Bali and was to pay only 1/8 of the Bhag. Bali and Bhag were the taxes. Girnar rock inscription of Rudradaman Kathiawad mentions the Sudarshan Lake construction by Pushyagupta, a provincial governor of Saurashtra during Chandragupta Maurya's reign. Minor Rock Edict 1 indicates that Ashoka turned towards Buddhism gradually after 2.5 years in power. Minor Rock Edict 3 tells about how Ashoka greets Sangh, professes his deep faith in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangh, and also recommends 6 Buddhist texts for monks, nuns and general laity. Inscriptions at Shahbazgadi and Mansehra. It is written in Kharoshthi script. If you want to know about any other topic, please leave it in the comment box so that we can come back with it. If you have liked it, please share and subscribe. Thank you.